raise your hands if you've not yet had the privilege and delight to hear Sugar Sullivan or Barbara Billups discuss things. Raise your hands. Oh, fantastic.
We got new guinea pigs.
New guinea pigs. On the right, or on your left, Sugar Sullivan. Oh, so we'll get started at the beginning, shall we? So, Sugar, you grew up, and your mother was a shake dancer.
Why does it always have to be sugar first? Why?
By what you mean, Barbara? Let's start off with Barbara.
Beauty. Oh, okay.
I knew that would work.
So you grew up, you're the daughter of a shake dancer.
Yes.
And your house had a lot of tap dancers coming, because it was like a rooming house, is that right?
Tap dancers, comedians. Yeah, they fill our house. Slappy White, Red Fox, the Chocolatiers, they were tap dancers, and let's see, Honey Coles. I can't think of names, you know. When you get too young, you forget things. But it was a lot of entertainers in my home.
And you were dancing by like age 4, or even earlier, probably.
Well, my mama said she had a photo of me. I was like 9 months old, and we were outside on top of this roof, and I was like doing I guess what I was doing last night, huh? Just always loved dancing. I came here dancing, you know. That's why she named me Sugarfoot.
Oh, she named you Sugarfoot.
It was Sugarfoot until I was 16.
And then they shortened it to Sugar.
They dropped the foot, yeah.
I had heard because you were so sweet. Is it both of them, or is it
well,
just
it could have been
Sugarfoot?
Sweet feet. Mama knew I was going to have sweet feet.
Ooh, I like that, sweet feet.
That's right, yeah. That's what I put it to.
Can you say something to Barbara?
Barbara.
Barbara going to sleep.
Barbara grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, like me, or born and raised in Georgia, and then Athens.
Yes.
Is that right? And you yourself, I heard that you maybe didn't take to dance classes when you were young, because, do you mind telling us why?
Well, there wasn't any dance classes that I could take during the time.
There you go.
But every time there was a dance in school or somebody else was having a dance, we danced a lot in the yard, on the street. But we danced. Next question.
But I had heard, I think maybe in one of your previous talks, you had mentioned how maybe you like to dance your own way, and so you didn't do dancing classes. Maybe that was a falsehood. Maybe that was a lie that I read.
No, you're telling the truth. There was no class for me to go to. And I did my own dancing. Whatever the music was like, that's what I did. I taught her this. So I can do that too.
So you moved to New York when you were about 16-ish, is that right? Around there?
No, I was a little older when I moved to New York. That's after I finished high school. Then my grandmother raised me and my sister. So she said, it's time for you to go to your mother. My mother was living in New York. So she said, it's time for you to go to your mother. So after that, my sister and I came to New York to live with my mother.
And how soon after did you discover the Savoy Ballroom?
I think it was about a year. Because when I first came to New York, I got a job. My mother told me, you're going to get a job, which I don't mind working. I got a job, but she knew that I liked dancing. So she asked my cousin Loretta, would you take Barbara to the Savoy Ballroom? So I asked Loretta, what is that? She said, that's a big place, Barbara, that I think you're going to like. Because you like dancing, I think you're going to like. I said, okay. So my cousin took me to Savoy Ballroom. Should I keep going?
Sure.
Okay. Watch again. So so I went to Savoy Ballroom, and that was the biggest place I had ever seen in my life. But the music was fantastic. The music was kicking. And I went to work every day. I left there and I went to Savoy Ballroom. And that's where I met a lot of friends that I know at Savoy Ballroom.
So, Sugar, you were special for many reasons, but if I recall correctly, you competed in the famous Harvest Moon Ball contest before you even went to the Savoy for the first time. Is that right?
Yes. My partner and I, well, we had saw this dancing in a movie, and I told him, I said, we got to do that dance. And he said, you must be crazy. I said, we can do it. Because then the movies ran, over and over and over again, and it was running like a couple of weeks. So we went every day after school to see Hells A Poppin', just to see that dance scene. If any of you guys seen Hells A Poppin'. And that's how we started doing this dance. We didn't know the name of it. We didn't know anything about the people that was dancing. We knew they were black people. Say, hey, we can do that. They're doing it, we can do it, So we would go and concentrate when they were dancing, he tried to remember something, I tried to remember something. And when we got out of the theater, then we would go to Central Park, which was only a few blocks, because the theater was 116th Street, Central Park was 110th Street. So that's not far. We walked down there and go in the park and find us a secluded spot with some grass, and we tried these things that we saw, And a contest came up that they were going to have in Central Park. It was given by Walt Disney because he had a movie short coming out called Make Mine Music. And it was about teenagers dancing in a soda fountain around this jukebox. So that was perfect. So we entered this contest in Central Park, and lo and behold, we won first place. And until that day, we didn't know what the dance was, but they announced it, when they was talking about the contest that day at the park. They were saying, we have a Lindy Hop contest coming up at such a time and so forth. I said, oh, I guess that's what we were doing, Lindy Hop, So we kept practicing, and we went in this contest, and we won first place. And afterwards, a lady came over, and she said, oh my goodness, you were so good. She said, you two could win the Harvest Moon Ball. And I said, what is that? And then she explained to us it was a contest that the Daily News sponsors every year, and it's held at Madison Square Garden. And I said, oh, really? She said, yeah, you win a lot of money. I said, yeah, how we do that, And she said, go down to 42nd Street to the news building, the Daily News building, and that's where you sign up. So that's what we did. We went to the news building and signed up for the Harvest Moon Ball. Yeah.
All right, so the Harvest Moon Ball, if you don't know about it, it took place in Madison Square Garden, and it was every single year. And one of the special things about the Harvest Moon Ball is that once you won the contest, you weren't allowed to compete in it again.
If you win first place. They had about 5 different categories of dancers dancing that night. It was rumba, tango, Viennese waltz, rumba, tango.
Maybe foxtrot?
Foxtrot and Lindy Hop. So Lindy Hop was always the last contest of the evening because it was the most exciting. And I think that's who filled the Madison Square Garden, the people that wanted to see Lindy Hop. Because when they announced that, everybody in Madison Square Garden would stand up and holler and scream. It was very exciting. And we would march around the stage before we took our seats, and they loved that. And the people would just holler and clap and everything, and then we take our seats, and then they would commence.
So tell us about that first year that you competed.
the first year, when we went to sign up, they asked where we lived. So I said, we live in Harlem. But they said, oh, you missed the preliminaries, because there were three different ballrooms that had preliminaries for the finals, which was held in Madison Square Garden. And 2 of the ballrooms were predominantly white, and then any other mix, you know, any kind of like Latin or Mexican, or you know, any other people, black people, they would dance from the Savoy. So the Savoy had already had their preliminaries. So the guy told me, he says, well, you can go and enter, you could dance at Roseland because their preliminaries is coming up. So I said, yeah, okay, we'll do that. So he gave us the date and everything. We filled out whatever we had to fill out. I don't even remember what we had to fill out. I know it's something we had to find to be in the contest. And so we were there that night, and we danced in the preliminaries, my partner and I. And they picked so many couples to go to Madison Square Garden for the finals. And we came in second that night. And it was never recorded. You can't find it recorded anywhere because it has been searched by quite a few people. But they just, in the paper, I think they didn't even put who came in first or second or third or whatever. I guess because they didn't want to put us in there second, you know, maybe coming from Roseland Borough. But they just said, these couples are going to Madison Square Garden. And there was our names in the paper, you know. So when I get down there that day, we had to be there like 8 o'clock in the morning. Because they rehearsed all day, the different categories. They also had professional entertainment on the show at night too. So everybody had to rehearse, so we started like 8 o'clock in the morning so they can fit all of this into so many, you know, hours for the show. And we were practicing and we got on the floor and I saw these people flying around the floor with this fast music. And I said, oh my God, what am I doing here? I have no business here, you know? And this was the other ballrooms, you know? I said, oh, you know, because I hadn't seen none of this dancing, only what I saw in the movie, you know? And I says, they had this, the black couples up on. I said, I want to dance with them. They said, you can't. They're from Savoy Ballroom, and you came from Roseland. You have to dance with the group that you came with. So I said, oh, okay, all right then. We'll do that this time. You know? So that's what happened. So I wasn't expecting to win anything that night because from what I saw, I knew we didn't have a chance. Even the ones that I saw from other ballrooms, I just felt that we weren't up to par, you know, because we didn't really know what we were doing. You know, we just happened to win a contest, and we entered this one, and we happened to be able to make the preliminaries, you know. But I had plans for afterwards.
And afterwards, didn't those Savoy dancers invite you back to their place? Is that right? Did I remember that correctly?
Oh, no. I was 16 the first time I went to the garden. And I went up to the Savoy Ballroom one night with my socks on. No makeup. Didn't wear makeup. Didn't wear stockings. And the man at the front desk says, where's your mother? I said, my mama's home. What? Well, where you going? I said, I'm going upstairs. It's upstairs, right? He says, no. How old are you? I said, 16. He says, you have to be an adult. I felt like I was an adult. My mama treated me like an adult. He says, well, no, you have to be at least 18 years old. I said, well, I'll be back. So I went home, all sad and everything, and told my mama what happened. She said, I could have told you that. She said, we didn't go into Renaissance at 16. She was a ready Lindy Hopper. and you had to be 18 there. That was another ballroom. Savoy Ballroom was 140th Street, between 140th and 141st on Lenox Avenue. Renaissance Ballroom was 138th Street on 7th Avenue. So they were kind of rivals when it came to the dancing, the groups that danced regularly in those two ballrooms.
So let's fast forward a little bit. I do want to come back to your Harvest Moon Ball run. But let's go back to Barbara. Do you mind telling us the story of how you first met Sugar?
Well, when I went that night, that I'm going back because you didn't let me finish. When that night, when I was there, I knew Sugar. I knew everybody that was there, but I didn't know who was who or who was with who. It didn't bother me. I just wanted to go there. And they were dancing, they would make a circle, and that music was playing and playing, and I never tried to dance in the circle. I would always go on the outside. Say, maybe these many people around like that in that big circle, I would be on the outside, trying to do what I saw them do. And all of a sudden, one night this man came and grabbed me. And I said, what's wrong? Where you going? Where you going? He said, we're going in the circle. I said, I can't do that. I can't do that. He said, you do what I see you do every night over there in the corner. You'll be all right. All right, so he brought me in the circle. And I danced with my eyes closed because I didn't want to see nobody. And every time I opened my eyes, there was a different fella had my hands. So I'm saying to myself, I must be doing something right. But you don't be surprised. You could be surprised how frightened I was. And then that happened. So that next night, I know I'm going back. Because I know I can dance now. Too many men danced with me and I didn't know who they were. So once I opened up the door of Savoy, this lady came up to me. She said, Barbara. I knew she probably knew my name, you know. She said, you know that man you was dancing with last night? I said, no. That's my husband. I said, I knew I was in trouble. But she said, come in. Let me show you what he was trying to get you to do. So she took me that night in a corner. And from that night to this today, we've been just like that.
So that man that you met, Sugar's husband, George Sullivan, right?
Yes, right.
Do you mind telling us a little bit about the story of you and George and how you finally won the Harvest Moon Ball?
The main purpose of the Harvest Moon Ball, and for some that went to the Savoy, if you want to become a professional dancer, you want to win the Harvest Moon Ball. If you win first place in the Harvest Moon Ball in Lindy Hop, you sign professional contracts that night as part of your prize. You sign contracts for appearances in nightclubs, in theaters like Radio City Music Hall. You dance in the show there. If you when you win the Harvest Moon Ball, there was the Latin Quarter, which was on Fifth Avenue, downtown in New York. That was a club. I signed contracts to appear there when I won the Harvest Moon Ball. And you also did TV shows. You did Ed Sullivan's show, and at that time there was Jackie Gleason had a variety show. You appeared on his show, you know, and so that made you a professional. So that's why you couldn't go back in the Harvest Moon Ball again if you won first place, because it was supposed to be for amateurs. So that was with all the categories, it was the same thing. You know, if you won in that particular category, you couldn't enter into anything else. You know, if you won, like say, Foxtrot, first place, you could enter in rumba, maybe, you know, the next time, or tango, but you couldn't enter and dance in the Foxtrot. Yeah.
And so you and George started competing, but there's some stories involved.
I had all these different partners trying to find the right one, and it didn't work. I had maybe 3 or 4 partners before my husband decided. So it was 1954, and everybody said I was dancing with a guy, we called him Big Nick. Nick Nicholson was his name. Big Nick, they said, this is our year. You know, everybody was saying, Sugar, you and Nick, this is it. This is your year. So we knew we had it, you know. So we made preliminaries and we're practicing like 3 weeks before the finals at Madison Square Garden. So that night we practiced. He said, well, let's run over the routine one more time for the night. Let's call it the night. Okay. So we go through the routine. Bam! I hit the floor on my face. The blood was over here. They was spurting, just open up over here my eye, you know, and I'm laying there. My husband had come to pick me up to go home. He used to pick me up every night because he didn't Lindy hop. He would come up, maybe dance 1 or 2 slow dances, but he didn't Lindy. So when I hit the floor, all I could say was, I'm never dancing again. I'm laying on the floor hollering, I'm never dancing again. Because I knew that's what my husband wanted to hear. And I said, oh no, now he's got a reason. He's really got a reason, you know? So we had to find a garage that was open to cut my wedding rings off my hand. They was all bent up and everything. And then we went to emergency and I got a couple of stitches over my eye and I kind of fractured my arm also. So went to the emergency. I come out of there with a patch over here and my arm in a sling. And here I'm going home and feeling all sad and everything. I was more concerned about not being able to dance than I was about what had happened to me, you know. So I said, well, I can't dance no more. I can't even go to the garden this year, you know, and all that. So I went home, you know, and I'm moping around the house. And my husband got tired of that, you know. He said, why you say you're not going to dance no more? I said, because you never wanted me to dance, but you just couldn't stop me. But now you got a good reason. I agree with you, you got a good reason, you know. I got 2 kids I got to raise, you know, so. He said, I'll dance with you. I laughed in his face. I mean, I had the biggest laugh. And he said, what are you laughing at? I can do that if I want to. I just didn't want to. I said, it's 3 weeks to the garden. I said, I don't even know if I'm going to heal that fast. If you'll heal that fast, I'll dance with you. Okay, so we go up to the Savoy in the daytime, and we start practicing. I'm trying to teach him, and the guys were laughing at him. Because my husband was always he was like what they call suave, you know, cool cat, you know, and so they didn't think he could do it. So that made him more determined, you know. And he said, I can do it. So we would practice and we would argue, and you're dumb, you can't get it, you know, you just can't dance. And we arguing, and then the guys said, we'll help, you know. They gave him hints what the guys do and everything, you know. So we were ready when it came that night to go to the Harvest Memorial. We were ready. He made it. Yes. So that's how he started dancing with me. That was 1951. I think it was 1951 was the first year that he danced with me. And so after that, we won 3rd prize. We won 2nd prize the next year. And And then the next year, we tied for third and didn't get it. We came in fourth. And then in 55, we won first place. My mom was in the audience with my kids, and they came downstairs, backstage, and she was there because we signed the contracts and everything. I wanted her to be there for that, you know. And we looked over the contracts and we signed everything. And yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, Sugar is not the only Harvest Moon Ball medalist up here on this stage. Barbara as well dominated the contest. Barbara, do you mind telling us a little bit about your story with the Harvest Moon Ball?
Well, I'm going back. It started after I really met everybody, and I would go to the Savoy, and I would do dancing every night and so forth. The Harvest Moon Ball was coming up, and I never wanted to enter into a contest. And they had everybody ready to go, because they only had 2 weeks before time to go to the Savoy, to go to Madison Square Garden. And all of a sudden, this guy, Willie Pose, I don't know what happened until today, what happened to his partner. But something happened to his partner. And Sugar husband and Nick Mose and Little Nick, they came over to me, and I don't know what I was doing, but they said, Barbara, I said, what? You got to dance with Willie Pose and Harvest Moon Ball. I said, I said, I'm not doing that. They said, yes, you are. You're going to dance. I said, but I can't do it. I'm looking at this girl, that girl, that girl. He said, you the only one who can do that. You're going to dance with Willie Poser. Now, Willie Poser, he was a nice fella, very nice fella, and he could dance. But a lot of people didn't want to dance with him. I really don't know why.
He was my partner one year.
Yeah. But I was the kind of person, I dance with anybody. I never tell nobody no. I mean, I see if I see you coming again, I may go around the other way. But I would dance with you. But I told them no, because I knew what the Harvest Moon Ball was. I've been there, and I wasn't going to do that. That was too big for Barbara. So they kept on after me, and he said, come on. Joyce Sullivan said, come, Barbara, please, dance with Willie Posey. This one over here said, yes, you going to dance with Willie Posey. I didn't say one word, because she was demanding during that time, like she is now. So I had 2 weeks to learn a routine with Willie Posey. And believe me, that music that I see them play now, nowhere near how they played it during that time. And I had to learn half steps, flip over back, what y'all see a lot of people do. I had to do all of that in 2 weeks. They drilled me for 2 weeks. I would go to work and come there, and that's where I would be to time to go to work the next day. But I did it. And Willie Posey, and I went to Madison Square Garden. And I think a lot of you know McDonald Allen. Him and his partner ran. And then there was, I don't know whether that was Birdie Davis and her brother now, but anyway, yeah, it was 3 of us. It was more than us dancing, but during that time they only had 3 couples on the floor. So a lot of couples had went before us now, and I'm sitting out there just as nervous as I could be. And then everybody's saying, "Don't get nervous, don't get nervous." Somebody else will come over there and say, Barbara, stop it, stop it. She always demand on me, honey. Wow. But she said, stop it, you okay. So then they call everybody comes, they call your name, you come on the stage. Barbara goes to Willie Posey, and I'm still standing there, and she pushing me up the stairs. I finally got on the floor, but I can tell you one thing. Once I hit that floor, there was no stopping. I was going to let them people think that I didn't know what I was doing, which I didn't. But they didn't know that. And Willie Posey and I danced. and he did some hair stuff they hadn't even taught me, but I did. So when it was all over, they had Sonny Allen, first place, Jerry Davis in the second place, and they said, Willie Post and Barbara Billups. I said, oh my God. She said, get on that stage, get on that stage. I got on stage, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm afraid to do a lot of things, but she'll tell you, I tried. But I'm saying that said this. When there's a contest or something around, enter to that contest. You'll be surprised what you can do. You can fool your own self. Well, that's what I did. I fooled my own self. Now, I never won. I didn't win first place. But they were saying, well, you go back next year, you probably win first place. But Sonny Allen won first place, and he wanted to have a show. So he told me, Barbara, I want you, Sugar, I called a lot of us. I want 8 girls and a band. So I had got the feeling of people looking at me. I wanted to go do this thing with him in show business. So once you get in show business like that, you also have to sign something with a guild of variety. And that means that you cannot enter to anything else. So you're not amateur no more. You are professional. Like she said, first place. You do that when you're at a match. But I didn't win first place, but I still turned out to be,
She didn't tell you she won 3rd prize, but they won 3rd prize that night.
Also, Sonny Allen has said before, he's still with us, by the way, he said before that Barbara Billups was one of the greatest air steppers he's ever danced with, he's ever worked with. So you must have had a good talent.
She loves flying. We call it flying.
I love the air. I'd rather be in the air than on the floor. I really do. I love being in the air.
So you'll start...
But wait. No, listen. I want to see, and I know Sugar does too, more half steps than we have been seeing. And y'all can do it. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Fellas, don't take a girl and just start doing it like that. That's no good. If you're going to start doing a half step,
yes.
Aerial step. You get a fellow somebody on one side and fellow somebody on the other side and in the back. So if she makes a mistake, you can easily correct it. But to do it on your own, it doesn't work that way. Okay? So please do me a favor. Do it the right way.
We didn't have mats on the floor or something like that, but we did have spotters when a new girl was learning a new aerials for a couple of times before she really got the step. But somebody would be there to spot to make sure that you didn't hit the floor, Yeah.
So after your Harvest Moon balls, Sonny grabs y'all to be performing around the world. Tell us what was that like? What was the traveling like? What was y'all doing a show?
Sonny wanted 8 girls, and we got 8 girls out of the Savoy. And he said he was going to teach us Latin, African, modern jazz.
Mambo.
Latin. Modern jazz. Him and I did tap. We were the only 2 that did tap. And Lindy Hop. So that's what he did. We practiced like 12 hours a day. His father was part of the Democratic Club, and they had a room, this big room where they used to have meetings and things, so his father arranged for us to use that space. And we were there every day, and Sonny was drilling us, And because some of the girls, they hadn't done anything but Lindy Hop, So that's what we did, and we got good. He booked us into Small's Paradise. Wilt Chamberlain then was the owner of Small's Paradise at that time. And him and Sonny were friends. And he let us come in, booked us in, for 3 weeks. And we kept the crowd in there. We had Sidney Poitier came to see the show. Cassius Clay, who was Muhammad Ali later, he came to see the show. Who was that used to take me to work? What's his name? Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington came to see the show. He lived in my neighborhood. And when I was going to work, when I had my 9-to-5 job, I would run into him in the bank. We went in the same bank. And one day it was snowing and carrying on, and he walked over to me, and I was standing waiting to come out to get the bus to go to work. And he says, you need a ride? I said, yes. And I'm looking at him, and he's so chummy looking. And he says, I know you don't remember me, but I came to see your show in Small's Paradise. I said, oh, yes, okay. Yes. He says, you know what? I know who you are. So he gave me a ride to work. And and that happened a couple of times that we ran into each other, because I'd go in there before I go to work, and he would be in the bank doing his banking, and he would give me a ride to work, Yeah. But we had such a good show, the 8 girls and Sonny Allen. I made all the costumes for us. I designed them and I made them. That night, Sonny got all the colors that we had, costumes before that, and he rented these brocade jackets to match our costumes. And he wore like tuxedo black pants with all the jackets. Well, when he opened the show, Sonny had on tails. He had on a black cape with red lining. He had a top hat. He had white gloves. And he had a cane. And he strutted out on that stage with these 8 girls behind him. Well, we lit up Harlem that night. And each girl he took his gloves off, he gave them to a girl, and she would dance off, and his hat, and his cape, and then he did a solo number to open our show. So we did tap, Sonny and I. Barbara had her tap routine. Barbara don't tap, okay?
But I look good when I dance. That's right.
Okay, and we did our African number, we did our Latin number, and we closed with Lindy Hop. My partner was a girl, which was very odd at that time. A girl throwing a girl, and I was the flyer. So that was our act. And that's what he took on the road. But he had to cut it down to 4 girls. He could not book 8 girls. He would, we had professional photos made that Sonny took with him, and he had a listing of what we did at Smalls, and that's what he took around to all the different agents' offices. We never stepped into an agent's office. And at that time, that was a dangerous thing for a female, a young female, a black young female to do. And even white young females. Because you might have gotten the gig when you came out of there, but you paid for it on your back on that couch in his office. So he kept us away from all of that, and this is what he had promised our parents and our husbands and boyfriends when he took us on the road. He said, the way I take them away, that's the way I'll bring them back. and he wasn't lying. If somebody wanted to take us to breakfast or invite us for dinner, Sonny said, sure, we can go. It was Sonny and the 4 girls. If I was invited for breakfast, it was Sonny and the 4 girls that went. So he lived up to everything he promised, our families. And it was beautiful. It was great, traveling with him and doing gigs all over Canada. We worked all over Canada. They knew us at the border. And they always wondered, where are you appearing? What city? And they would come to see the show. Custom guys, they would come to see the shows. Yeah, we had good runs in clubs up in Canada. We would go for a week and stay a month. We would go for a month and stay 2 months. We stayed in one in Toronto for 6 months. We had to quit. We literally had to quit to come home. A couple of the girls had kids. I had 2. The girl named Little Bit, she had 1. My partner, she had 2 kids. So sometimes you want to come home, And we were working in Canada, so it wasn't that far to travel. We wouldn't have missed anything if it was a night that the club was closed. On Christmas, the club closed the day before Christmas, Christmas Day, and the day after Christmas. And everybody didn't want to come home. The band didn't want to come home because we carried our band. They didn't want to come home. Just a couple of the mothers, we wanted to come home and see our kids, And the lady that owned the club, she said, if you leave, you can't come back.
That was great.
It was great working for her. Oh, yes. But we were told the last black group she had, she kept for 14 years. We said, what? Singer and a band. She kept them in that club for 14 years. I think they started dying, the reason why she had to, let them go. So we decided, 6 months straight in one place. How many times can you change the routine? How many times could we have to redo costumes and redesign costumes? So we chose to quit. And we came home, yeah. But all of our runs were very good. Great. And we worked in Boston and Canada. That was our best thing, all over Canada. We went across Canada, yeah.
I do want to give a chance for people to ask some questions, so start thinking about your questions.
The hour's up already?
Oh, no, we got like 15 minutes. I want to give good time for questions. I do want to say, do you mind talking?
Well, I got to tell y'all this. Son of Allen was very a hard-working guy. He worked us to death. He didn't care what. The problem about it, most people, when we did something on the floor, if one person make a mistake, we all better make that mistake. And he had us that way. Because he said, if you make a mistake, you got to pay me. Now, we give it $5, something like that, you know what I mean? But he said money, and we know money was money for us. We had no money to give nobody. So we did whatever he asked us to do. If a girl made a mistake, you'd be surprised how we made that same mistake. I don't know today how we did it. I really don't. Am I right?
That's right.
We had to make the same mistake, and we did that.
And he would tell us, I didn't see what y'all did, but I know somebody made a mistake. Because he's in front of us singing, and we do it maybe dancing behind him or doing a routine or something. And sometimes he would miss it, sometimes he would catch it. And he would tell us when we get back in the dressing room, how did y'all get together to make that mistake? Because that step didn't go like that. And we would look at what mistake, Sonny? I don't know what you're talking about. And then we look at each other and smile. We got him that time, yeah.
I tell you one time, though, one of the girls' ponytail fell off. Oh, no. And we said, now, wait a minute. That girl took that ponytail and she worked that floor with that ponytail. That's the only time Sonny did not bother. And the people that on the show kept saying, can y'all keep that in there? They know it was like, could you keep it in the show?
We had, when we first started, you know, and we talk among ourselves, we said if you make a mistake, you know, don't get ashamed, run off stage, or stand there and holler and scream or whatever. Make it a step. Turn it into a step. Whatever happened, if there's a mishap with your costume, turn it into a step. Nobody will know the difference. They'll think it's in the act. And that's what happens. That's what she heard when her ponytail fell off in this club in the village. Okay? And she was smiling and she was working it. She was working with this ponytail, honey, and she did a split and she was working with this ponytail. And then we got back and we got in the dressing room, we congratulated her. She started hollering and screaming and the tears were running and she just had a fit. And then the owner, the club owner, he come back and he said, well, that's great. Y'all didn't do that before. I like that. Keep that in. And she looked at him and she said, ah! He said, what's the matter? We said, we'll straighten it out. But we didn't keep that in there. We didn't make up no mind. So that wasn't part of the act, but we didn't keep it in there.
By the way, they also sang. Y'all sang.
Yes.
Oh,
Y'all might not know this, but you've already heard them sing.
Yes.
Because the song we were playing when you were sitting down was one of the Sonny Allen and the Rockettes tracks that they were background singers on.
Run that back.
One day, we were closed in Boston, and we were on our way to this town outside of Boston to go to this club. And we had a driver. We never have a driver. Sonny always did all the driving. But this particular time when we left New York, we had a driver. And we worked the gig in Boston. Sonny never mentioned it. We're in the car, packed up the car to go to some next gig. Sonny said, I have good news. So we said, yeah, what? We got a new club, you know? He says, at this next club, we're going to be singing. You sing. We don't sing. He said, we will be singing. Now, Barbara had did some singing. I had sang in church, Catholic church. I sang in Catholic church.
I sang in a gospel church.
She sang in gospel, okay? So nobody else sang. 4 girls. So we said, okay. So right away we start our lessons. Your coach is the driver. Oh, that's why he's here. So he starts teaching us. We start harmonizing, learning how to harmonize and so forth. We didn't have 4-part harmony. It was 3. Because one girl would jump from Barbara's key to my key. But we had 3-part harmony. My partner, she sang bass. My dancing partner, she sang bass. Yeah. So we had 3-part harmony. We background for Sonny, and Barbara had one song that she did lead, and I did one song as lead, and all the rest of the songs that whatever we did in the show, Sonny sang lead. Yeah.
But we must have been doing something right. Because most of the places we went, if we went the second time, they know we did most of the dancing. They heard about the singing. Oh, Sonny, can you ever do a little singing too? So Sonny liked that. So what he did, he made us go and do that at the other place that we only asked for dancing. So we started dancing and singing too. And there was one place, I'm going to tell this, sugar. There was one place in New Bedford, I think it is.
That's the name I was trying to think of. New Bedford, Massachusetts. Yeah.
Okay.
New Bedford, Massachusetts. That was the one we went to. Outside of Boston.
Sugar was singing her solo. and she liked this fella here that was working with us. And every time she got,
I never told no dirt on you. Why you gonna get in my closet?
and every time that she would get to, I don't know why, she didn't drink. But she acted like she was drunk. And she was saying, I love you. And she almost go off the stage. And we was up like a platform. We had to grab her and bring her back.
We had stopped that afternoon at a club, and champagne was my drink. I only drink, not domestic champagne. I like champagne. And they had told this guy, buy sugar on the champagne you want, you might get lucky. And I was drinking champagne, and then we had to go do the show.
She don't drink that.
And because I'm not a drinker. Once,
2 swallows and she gone.
I'm not a drinker.
She ended up sending it to me to get rid of it for her.
We would go in the bar, and Barbara would order a drink. She drinks the alcohol, I drink the chaser. That's what we used to do, yeah. And when we were barmaids, Barbara and I were barmaids. She taught me to be a barmaid. She was a heck of a
Yes,
barmaid.
I did.
All the men loved her in the bar. Oh man, she made tips on top of tips because she could drink with all of them. And I never saw her drunk. Never.
Well, one thing I realized, if you drink one thing all the time, it'll make you high. But if you drink 2 or 3 different things, by the time they figure out which one I'm going to make you drunk, I'm sober then.
But the guys loved her because all of them said, and pour yourself one. And she would pour it and she'd drink with him. And she'd go over here, drink scotch with this one. She'd drink gin over there. And down the end of the bar, well, that's the vodka guy down there, you know.
Now, you ain't supposed to be telling my dirt.
Hey, you brought it up. You started it. Okay. And so Barbara, she would make the best tips. So when I came in, and she said, Sugar, you want to be a barmaid? I said, yeah, why not, you know. So she told all the guys, my sister does not drink, so give her big tips. And I didn't drink. And she taught me how to mix and everything, and her and I worked in the bar together. That was times when we were like between gigs, and we would get jobs, so we got
You ain't supposed to be telling all of that.
People want to know our life. That's part of it.
Yes, it is. I guess you're right.
Okay. You all don't know, but Barbara was a basketball star.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was.
In Georgia. I didn't know this, but one time she went home. She said, I'm going home. They're having a school reunion and everything and so forth and so on. And they honored her. She said, I went home and they honored you for what? She said, my basketball. You didn't tell us to play basketball. So she was a basketball star.
Wow. Yeah.
We do have a few minutes for some questions. So if some folks have some questions, here we go. Sorry? You'll answer one?
I'll ask you.
Oh, ask one.
So, when did you all meet some of the other generations of Lindy Hoppers? Like, you know, Whitey's, Lindy Hoppers, or...
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's when they used to come to the Savoy. Yeah, Al Mims, Frankie Manning. Norma never came up. When Norma left the Savoy, she never came back. Esther Washington, she was one of the dancers. She used to come up. And when because they were doing gigs as Whitey's Lindy Hoppers, and like if they were in New York, they would come by on a night, and we were thrilled to see them, you know. These were the masters, you know. And we would get in the circle, you stand on the inside of the circle So you hope, if you stand on the inside of the circle, then the guys know you can dance, they're going to grab you and pull you in the circle. And so that's what we were doing. That's how we got to dance with Al Mims and Frankie Manning and Leon James, yeah. That's how we met them.
All right. We have one back here.
Barbara, Sugar, thank you so much for sharing your stories. So you've seen how Lindy as a dance and as a community has evolved a lot over the years. What would you say is something that the Lindy community is not doing that you think we as a whole should be doing?
Not doing that they should be doing. What do you think, Barbara?
Dancing.
I understand, I've been told this year that my black dancers are having trouble. The white dancers, the guys are not asking them to dance.
Oh, yeah.
We're hearing this, and that breaks our heart, you know. And I've heard of like different kinds of incidents, and Lindy was always anybody, dance with anybody, with us from the Savoy. Everybody came into Savoy, royalty, chambermaids, bartenders, policemen, servicemen, and everybody danced with everybody. There was no distinction about you're this and you're that, and that was the only ballroom in Harlem, or in New York, I should say, that happened in. Because you had predominantly black one here, this ballroom, predominantly white ballroom over here. But the Savoy, there was no color line. And I hate to hear that. That really hurts me, you know? And I don't know why it's happened, but I hope it stops. I really do. You know, I really,
We have another question here.
Yes. Hello, Miss Sugar and Miss Barbara. Thank you both so much. We were talking recently, and you both were sharing about an experience that you had in New Orleans recently. And I was wondering if you would care to share that with us, with the whole group, at the airport.
oh, yes. Yes, last week we were in New Orleans. We were with the Next Generation Project. And everybody will know about that soon, you know. It's a group of dancers, black dancers, that Al Mims' daughter, Denise, had a dream for them. And that's why we were in New Orleans, because we were teaching them routines. They learned a lot of routines last week. That's all it was. It was a teaching for them and a thrill for us. But coming home, I'm in the airport, and I go to the main desk. Okay, they give me my boarding pass, and the wheelchair guy got my wheelchair. I'm in the wheelchair, and they're taking me to security, you know? So we get over to security, and they look at the boarding pass, and they says, the lady says, there's something wrong with your boarding pass. Go back to the main desk. So I said, oh, really? Okay. So she gives it back to me, and I'm looking at it, and now the wheelchair guy is taking me back to the main desk, the first desk. And I'm looking at it, I don't see anything wrong, you know. So we get over there, and I told the person, the agent, what they said. And she said, there's nothing wrong with your boarding pass. She says, is this your proper age and your name? I said, yeah, that's my age and my name. My age, my birth date is April 22nd, 1930. And that's my name. And so she says, there's nothing wrong with this, I'm not changing it. So we go back to security, and she says, there's something wrong with this boarding pass. So I says, does it have anything to do with my birth date? Because it's correct. April 22nd, 1930. Yes, that makes me 95 years old. And she said, no, it's not your date. It's not your birthday. Take her through. Take her through. So we know what it was about, right? I guess she thought maybe they made a mistake with my birth date or something. I don't know. And then Barbara said,
I had some of the same day. When I got to the airport and got my wheelchair and so forth, they took me through, they gave me my ticket and everything, and when we got ready to go through the pass to put your, check your, the letter already checked, but, to put the stuff on the belt, the lady said, no, you're going to have to take her back, this is wrong. So the girl looked at me and she said, I said, take me back, I don't care. So she took me back, and when we went back to the place, the lady said, the girl, she called her name, said that this is wrong, that you got to get from another one. So the girl just looked at it, and she just went and punched up something. She said, here. So she took that with the same thing now, and I kept the other one, I still have it. So we took it back to the thing, to the boarding place, yes. And she looked at it, she said, oh, okay. And she put that there and told me to smile, I said. And then they pushed me through. Then after Sugar was telling me that, I said, well, why is it? Is you are that close that you have a problem? I got to have a problem too. She said, yes.
so we don't know if it was age, they make that, because I know people tell me I don't look my age, and neither does Barbara. Barbara's going to be 89 years old.
July 21st.
So we figured maybe that was it, So, but if you see it on the paper, that means that they've looked at our ID, which we carry, our ID. I carry my passport. Sometimes Barbara carries her passport, or she carries her ID from New York State. So we don't know what it was, because I have enough trouble with all this iron I got in my knees when I go through there. So yes, I thought maybe but something like that, but I was already, hadn't even got that far yet. Yeah. So yeah. That was it.
All right, I think we have time for one last one. We want to make sure Naomi gets in.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so lucky. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
So I know you spent so many hours at the Savoy, and we've all heard about the Savoy, but we haven't had the pleasure of being there. I was curious. I wanted to ask each of you, what's one favorite thing about the ballroom? Could be the people, could be the place, because we never got to go, and you spent so many hours there.
The dance floor.
Oh, what was it like?
People always said that the floor bounces with the dancing, and I understand it was like 3 layers or something, the way it was made or something, but it was truly made for dancing, And the ballroom was a block long, a complete block long. And that floor was just so beautiful. And every day when I was there practicing in the daytime, I'd see the man down there on his knees, and he's anything on the floor, like gum or whatever, he did that manually every day, cleaning that floor. He would scrape it and take any kind of specks, anything that was on the floor, and they didn't use that powdered wax or whatever you call it. They didn't, it was just a beautiful floor to dance on.
Tell me about the bandstand. Close enough.
Okay, yes, okay. The bandstand, well, there was continuous music in the Savoy. Once it opened, 9 or 10 o'clock at night, the music didn't stop until it was closing time, which was, it was 3 o'clock at one time, and in years it changed it to 2 o'clock, 2 a.m., in the morning. Because the bandstand could accommodate 2 full orchestras. That's how long it was, wide. And so one band would play a song. It's time for their break. The second band would come on and play the same song, join in on the same song, and the first band, they play a few bars, and then the first band would go and take their break. And the second band would continue for a few more bars after the band left the bandstand, and then they go on with their repertoire. And that went on all night, every night.
The music never stopped.
Never stopped until it was closed.
Even sometimes if you go to the bathroom, the maid in there would tell y'all, would say, another band is on, another band is on. And you got to try to get yourself together so you can go over there and dance with that other band. You didn't tell that.
Yeah, we would run into the ladies' room, and as soon as when you walk in the ladies' room, she starts getting your towels together because we running in and out. We wash our hands real quick and run back out there, and she would tell us, well, that song is over with. Now they're playing such and such a thing, that type of thing. And we would run out there to get back on the dance floor, and we would dance every dance, too, believe me. We had nights where we had square dancing. They would hire a professional caller, and we dressed the part, and they put red check tablecloths on the table, and they might put a couple of bales of hay over on the side of the side of the dance floor and that type of thing. We had dances like that. We had nights where it was we had Latin nights also, and we'd have a Latin contest, and then the dancers would enter in the contests and win money. It was just a fun place. That was my second home. And the dancers that I met there were my second family, And we met 1951. And this is my life sister right here.
All right, unfortunately we're out of time. I know that there were some folks who had some questions that they were really interested in asking. Guess what? They're still here. You can ask them questions when
We'll
you
be
see
here
them.
as long as you're here.
They're here to pass on their story. They're here to pass on their lessons. And so please feel free to go up and introduce yourselves.
Anytime, we're at the dance, or you see us walking through, or in the cafeteria, whatever. We don't mind. We talk to you, Dancers used to say, "Oh, but we're scared. We're not monsters, We're human just like you. Yeah, we put one foot in front of the other just like you do. Don't be bashful or anything like that, I'm a great grandmother, okay?
And she loves to talk. She loves to talk.
So does she.
Please give a large round of applause. Standing ovation for Senator Sullivan and Barbara Billups.
I want you to see my shirt.
She wants you to see her shirt. A lifetime of dedication to Lindy Hop.
These were designed by a young Korean dancer in Hawaii last year, and they were presented to us along with a trophy. We had Almin's daughter Denise had these trophies made up for us, and they had a night for us, legend night. So now every time we go anywhere, they always call us, now we're legends.
You're legends.
Wait.
Just one more thing.
What now?
See my jacket?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Guess who designed this jacket?
Bobby.
Yeah, these jackets have pictures from Harvest Moon Ball contests throughout the years, and especially I tried to make sure that any living legends pictures were on it, and so yes, so yeah, that's what those jackets are. We give them pretty hard.